Hi everyone. I'm coming back with a sort of impromptu video that is not going to be my usual sort of scheduled video that I would do on productivity and organizing like my weekly planning videos. But perhaps this is something I'm going to start doing going forward. It's just that I was prompted today by a situation that happened in one of my business ventures, and I thought it would help others to kind of see more of um, the process of what goes on when you're trying to work with partners or even when you're doing things on your own, the importance of benchmarking, tracking your progress, and if you're working with other people, communicating and understanding what each person expects and what each person um knows about the process that you're all kind of working together to engage in. So, as you know, if you follow me already, I am working on a second business venture. It is more of a consultancy type thing that I'm building with two other business partners who are in a very traditional industry, and they have seen my approach with organizing and some other things, and they wanted to bring me in to help create um, another thing that will ultimately help small business owners, basically. Um, so none of us are experienced in this new venture that we're all working together on. We each bring different skill sets and um, experiences to the table. And I mentioned that there are just some interesting dynamics behind the scenes, particularly with one of the partners versus the other. And so that led to a big conflict. And today, we all sat down and hashed it out because I basically said, this is what I perceive, and it's not positive, and it's not going to continue one way or the other, because it's not good for me, obviously, and it is counterproductive to what we're trying to do. So, anyway, that conversation was had, and in the midst of us sitting down and me actually like having to go back into organizer mode, or I never really leave organizer mode, but because things are very compartmentalized in my brain, and that's just kind of how my mind works, is constantly analyzing all the info it takes in and categorizing things. That whole deal is like going in the background of my mind at all times, more or less. So I spelled out what was going on, what I thought was inefficient, what was counterproductive, what was making my role in the partnership a lot more difficult than it needed to be. Um, and in letting them know that, they disclosed that like it was strange, like they, in a way, like at first they were kind of like, really, you think that? But to me, because I'm a very logical kind of I, not necessarily step by step, but I'm everything has to fit together logically, or like there has to be logic behind everything for me, and the way I organize thoughts is kind of in a very logical manner. And so I explained to them logically, X is happening and Y is happening, but then we end up on Q, and I don't understand, And so they're not very organizing oriented people, and they're both male. And so I, you know what, I didn't mean that as in like, because I do have male clients, or actually their spouses usually contact me, and the man is very organized, but the spouse is usually not, or even business partners sometimes. So not to say that men aren't organized, but just in kind of like the way, like for example, they're not very nurturing. They don't have like the nurturing mindset when it comes to the way they've built their business, whereas I've like nurtured my business from day one. And I understand having patience building something from scratch, whereas they work in an industry where they worked as like employees and then they'd seen someone else build what they're doing. And so it wasn't handed to them, but it was kind of like they'd seen the finished product before. And, one of them had some help and the other one kind of started his business through the guy that once employed him. So like it's just a totally different thing than starting something like planting a seed and watering it, giving it sunshine, watching it grow. So because we have those different perspectives, I also learned from them that they had no idea what progress looks like when you're starting a new business from scratch. And that was very frustrating for me because they're very black and white people. And again, like when you come into a business that someone has already built and you just kind of take it over, then there's already a system in place. You've already got kind of like a conveyor belt or what's the word I'm looking for? There's um like a train, like a flow that's already in place. And you put in, again, to use the letter analogy, you put in X and then you get Y, and then at the end of the chain you end up with Z. But they don't know where X comes from. And so for me, I had to be the person, and I still do. We're still in this partnership after talking. I'm the person who makes X happen because that's what I do. That's what I've been doing. I'm making I'm baking a cake from scratch, whereas they're like, they might buy like the little frozen Pepperidge Farm cakes at the store, or they just go to the bakery or something like that, or they have instant cake mix. That's a good example. That's what I'm trying to think of. And so they're like it. So I, on my end, because this is what I do in my business, I lay out what it takes to get, I ask, like we talked about what the desired outcome is. And then I laid out on my end what it would take to get there. And so that's like what we've been kind of working through and actually having pretty good success. And if you tune into my weekly planning chat, I lay out what I want to achieve each week and how I plan to get there. I share my setbacks, and I always communicate that it's not a setback necessarily because it's a learning process. This is something brand new I'm starting, so I have to find out what works. And that's kind of where we are. Whereas they are like, okay, well, we don't know anything about this new thing. Um but we just want to see, we want, to see results. We can't tell you what results we'd like to see. So we can't set goals for ourselves, but we just want to see something that makes us happy. And that is something I would never, if they were organizing clients, I would not accept them because I need, we got to know what success looks like in order to achieve it. And so that's what I'm getting at. And that's something that we can all take away for our own businesses, our careers, our families, our social lives, like whatever makes you happy in life, whatever you want out of life, you have to know what success looks like. Otherwise, you'll be a person who can never be satisfied because you don't know what you want. And so, especially if you're bringing someone else into that, it's not you're both going to be unhappy because you don't know what you're working toward, or that person may have an idea of what it takes to get what it sounds like you want, but in the end perhaps you're stressing that person out more because you haven't sat down and mapped out the steps, you haven't been listening perhaps, or you don't really know what the end result looks like. So that's the importance of setting goals, of working through the details in your mind, of using, notebooks, journaling, doing your research, just so that you can save yourself time and map out the best route to get there. And especially if you're involving other people, it saves them headache as well. So with that, I'm going to end this video. Just a quick week check-in. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care and be well. Bye now.